Good morning, dear students, and welcome to our lesson today. Today, we're going to learn something very exciting, and it's a new grammar tense that will help you a lot in your writing and in your speaking. So, our lesson today is grammar, and our tense is present perfect. So, I want you to always think about your grammar lessons as your superpowers into fluent English. So when you learn and understand and know when and how to use a grammar tense properly, you are now one step closer to being fluent in English and excellent in writing. So today we're going to speak about the present perfect, and we'd like to think of the present perfect as the tense that connects past actions with present action because previously we've studied the past and we've studied the present tenses. So we say that the past tense speaks about actions that only happened and ended in the past. And we speak about the present tenses that they describe actions that happening at present time or are still happening at the moment. But what about an action that it both happened in the past and still continues to the present, or it happened in the past and it has a result in the present, or an action that connects between the past and present? How do we speak about it? By using the present perfect. So let's understand this tense together and learn how to use it. So first we're going to speak about the uses of that tense. When exactly do we use that tense? So as I said, that it connects the past and present together. So let's see how. The first use is for an action that happened in the past but whose results are obvious in the present. Like, John's car is dirty. When you look at it, it has a lot of mud and dust on it. He washes the car. So we can see the person washing the car. And what is the result? He has washed the car. So we have in the past a dirty car, and we have in the present a clean car. So what happened in the middle? That the car got washed. So this connects the past state of the car with its present state by what happened in the middle that's being washed. So he has washed the car. Okay? So we can say that this action took place in the past, but the result of it is showing in the present. Like we can see a clean car, but the clean car isn't clean by itself because in the past something happened which is cleaning it. So the past action here is cleaning the car, and the present result is the clean car. So when we look at the clean car, we say he has washed the car. Okay, so this is the first use. Let's look at another use that still connects the past with the present. So we can see here that this person is eating, right? It's his lunch in front of him. But in the second picture, the lunch has disappeared. So he has finished it. So what is the second use? For an action that has just finished. Just means a few seconds ago or a moment ago. So if you have entered the room, the dining room where this person is eating, you would have seen him having his lunch, but you entered a second after he finished. So how do we express that? We say he has just had lunch. He has just had lunch. So this is how we speak about the present perfect. So if we entered at a person and this person just few seconds before we enter has finished something, we speak about it using the present perfect by saying he had just had lunch. Okay? And then we have the third use. The third use is for an action that started in the past but still continues. Okay, still hasn't finished. Like when I tell you that you are a student, is today your first day of being a student? No, you actually have been a student for some years. So being a student and going to school has started in the past, but did it finish? No, still continues in the present. So if something started in the past but still happening and continues in your present time, that means that we use the present perfect to express it. So those lovely family have bought the house a couple of years ago, okay? And few years later, they still live in that house. So although they made the action in the past, they still enjoy it in the present. So how do we express that? We say, we bought the house in 2000. We still live in the neighborhood. So how do we express it? We say, we have lived here for 15 years, or we have lived here since 2000. So again, for an action that started in the past and still continues in the present, we speak using the present perfect by saying, we have lived here for 15 years, or we have lived here since 2000. So we can see here that some of the time expressions we use with the present perfect are the words for and since. And we're going to study them in detail and we're going to learn exactly how and when to use them. Let's look at the fourth use of the present perfect. For experiences we have or haven't tried yet. Okay, so some experiences we have tried them for the first time, and some experiences we haven't lived them yet. So, how do we say it? We say, he has flown a plane. That means that he was the person controlling the plane. So, he was the pilot. He has flown a plane, but he has never tried bungee jumping. That means, yes, he did try to control the plane by himself and flew it, but he didn't try to jump off of a bridge used by being tied in a rope. That's bungee jumping. So he did try something, he did try a certain experience, but he didn't try another one. So how do we say it? We say he has flown a plane, but he has never tried bungee jumping. And then, if I want to ask you about an experience to know whether you have lived it or not, did you experience it before or not? So I tell you, have you ever traveled by plane? Have you ever been to a plane before? Have you ever tried bungee jumping? Have you ever eaten sushi? And so on. So, another time expression used with the present perfect or ever and never. And again, we're going to learn them in details throughout our lesson. So, we have how many uses for the present perfect tense? Excellent. We have four. Now, let's look at the last one. For an action that happened, okay, happened, that means it's in the past, right? But not in a certain time that we know. So the action happened in the past at a certain time and its result is showing. So we don't know exactly when the action has taken place, but we know that it happened because the result of it is showing in front of us at the present. Like we say, we have a very untidy room. This room is a mess. And after that, we see it very clean and tidy. So what happened? The children have tidied their room. Do we know when exactly they did? No. But we see the result. We know that they did the action. So we say that the children have tidied their room. We speak about it in the present perfect. Okay? So here are the uses of the present perfect tense. So when we learn the uses, after that we learn the form. How do we create a correct sentence in the present perfect form? But let me recap the uses one more time. We said that the first thing is for something that happened in an unspecified time. We don't know when, but we can see the result of it. So we know that it took place. So this is one use. The other use, something that happened in the past and still continues to happen in the future. So something that started in the past but continues in the present. So this is the second use. The third use is for experiences, whether you have lived them or not yet. So some experiences you do once in a lifetime, other experiences you actually live your whole life without trying them. So for these experiences, we speak about them using the present perfect, like I have flown a plane. I have never tried bungee jumping. So we use we use the present perfect to speak about these experiences. Okay, and then we have the action that happened in the past, but the result of it is showing in the present. Like when we entered the dining room and we found Tom have has just had his lunch. That means he's not eating at the moment, but I can see that he's in the dining room and I can see his plate empty. So I know that he just few moments ago was having his lunch. So how can I tell? Because I see the result in the present. Just few moments ago, this action was taking place. So this is the fourth use. And the fifth one is when an action happened and ended in the past, but its result is still showing in the present. Do you remember the dirty car? We saw this car and it was dirty. And then we saw it again and it was clean. So from that, we can know that something happened to it. What happened? It has been washed, right? It has been washed. Someone has washed it. So we know that an action happened in the middle of the past form, which is the dirty car, and the present form, which is the clean car. What happened in between? Cleaning. So we know that an action took place between the past condition and the present condition. So something that connects between the past and present, how do we speak about it? We use the present perfect tense. Okay, so let's see how this present perfect tense is written. What is the form? So how many forms of sentences do we have? Like we've learned before? Excellent. We have three types of sentences. We have the affirmative or the positive sentence, we have the question, and we have the negative. So a positive sentence is a normal sentence that doesn't have not in it and also isn't a question. A negative sentence is the sentence that has not in it. And the third type of sentence is the question that starts with a question word or a verb and ends with a question mark. So let's study those three types. First, we divide our subjects the usual division. We keep he, she, and it together in a package, and we combine I, you, we, and they together in another package. Why? Because he, she, and it add s to the verb. So that's why we combine them in a package together. So if the subject is he, she, or it, what do? We add an S to the helping verb. So what is the helping verb that we have in the present perfect? Excellent. It's verb to have. To have. So if we have the subject I, you, we, or they, do they add anything to the verb? No. So the verb follows them in its original form without any changes. So we say, I have, you have, we have, or they have. But if we have the other package with it, which is he, she, and it, and they add s to the verb that comes after them, so how do we write it? He has. Has is verb to have after adding an s to it. So we say he has, she has, it has. So Now we learn that in the present perfect, we always use the helping verb to have. If it comes with package number one, I, you, we, or they, we use it as it is, have. But if it comes with the package number two, he, she, or it, we change it by adding an S to it so it becomes has. But we must use a verb to have in the present perfect sentence. So it comes right after the subject. And after that, what happens to the main verb? Do we change it or do we leave it in its original form? Of course, we change it. How do we change it? We put it in what we call the past participle form. In every verb, we have its original form, we have its present form, its past form, and its past participle form. Like if I take, for example, verb write, the original form is write. The present form is also right, unless we use it with he, she, or it. So we have to add s to it in the present, so it becomes right. What is the past of right? Excellent. It's wrote. It's wrote. It's an irregular verb, so we change its spelling by making it wrote. What is the past participle of the verb write? It's written. Written. And of course, the past participle of all verbs is for you to study and memorize exactly like the irregular verbs in the past. So, I have written this letter. You have written this letter. They have written this letter. We have written this letter. Or we say, he has written this letter. She has written this letter. Or it has eaten this letter because, of course, an animal will not be able to write. Okay, so, but we see here an example with a verb ending in ed. Does this mean that we've put it in the past? No. The past participle of some verbs is exactly the same as their past tense. So sometimes past participle of a verb comes the same form as the past tense. Like we have the verb work. Work is the original form. Work or works is in the present depending on the subject. Worked is the past tense of work by adding ed to the end of it. What about the past participle? It's the same as the past. So worked is also the past participle of the verb work. So we have work, works, worked, and worked. But we have write, writes, wrote, and written. So sometimes some of the verbs change from past simple to past participle. Other verbs remain the same. And we have a group of verbs that actually don't change at all, like the verb put. In the original form, it's put. In the present form, it's put or puts. In the past, it's also put. And in the past participle, it will remain put. So I have put my books in the bag. See? No changes at all. Okay, so this is our first type of sentence, which is the affirmative or the original positive sentence. Let's look at the negative sentence. How do we make a negative in the present perfect form? We said that when we have a helping verb in the sentence, not comes directly after it. So what is our helping verb here? Excellent. It's verb to have. So where are we going to put the not? We're going to put it immediately after the helping verb to have. And we're not going to do any changes to the main verb. So the positive sentence is, we have written this letter. The negative is going to be, we have not written this letter. See, I didn't change the main verb from the past participle. I left it as it is. What I only did is that I added not beside the helping verb, which is to have. So if it's the first package, I, you, we, or they, I say have not. If it's the second package, he, she, or it, I say has not. Or the short form, I haven't, she hasn't. Okay? So we say I, you, we, or they haven't or have not worked. Or I, you, we, they haven't written. Okay? So this is how we put the present perfect form into negative by putting the word not right after verb to have. If have comes with the subject he, she, or it, and we have to add s to it, what do? We put not right after has. So he has not worked. She has not written. You see, I didn't do any changes. The only thing I just did is that I brought the word not and put it directly after verb to have, whether it comes with the normal subjects that are plural or I, so it's have not, or if it comes after the subject, the singular subject with which is he, she, or it, so it becomes has, so it has not. Okay, and then we continue the sentence by the main verb in the past participle as it is without any changes. So, what happens if we want to ask a question? How many types of questions do we have? Excellent. We have two types of questions. First question is starting with the WH questions, which are who, when, where, why. Yes, exactly. So we have some questions that start with WH. The other type of question is perfect. The other type of question is the yes or no question. And in this question, we have to answer with yes or no. So we have to start with the verb. So let's take a look at the type of question in the present perfect. I said that I start with the verb. So which verb am I going to use to start with? Excellent. Verb to have, because it's the helping verb in our tense here. So I start with have. Have you worked? Have they written? See, I've just formed the question. All I just did is that I switched the verb with the subject. I started with the verb and then the subject follows. And then we continue the question with the main verb in the past participle as it is. What if the question have a subject that is singular, like he, she, or it? Normally, we start with has. We're going to switch the subject with the verb. So I'm going to begin my question with has, followed by the subject he, and then the verb in the past participle. So it's going to be has he worked, or has she written, or has it eaten. So this is normal. When we have a yes or no question, we normally start the question with the helping verb. And in this case, the helping verb is verb to have. So we're going to start with verb to have followed by its subject. Unless we need to make it has because the subject is he or she or it, then we're going to start with has and then our subject. And we continue the question with the verb in the past participle. If it's a WH question like when, how am I going to do it? Normally, I'm going to use the WH question word. In our example here, it's when. And then I'm going to do my normal switch by putting the verb first and then the subject followed by the main verb. So, when have you written? When have you written? Or when has he worked? When has he worked. So we don't do any changes to the sentence. In order to make it a question, we have two changes. First one is crossing the verb with the subject. That means that we put the verb first and then it is followed by the subject. Or if we have a WH question word, we start the question with the WH question word, followed by the verb, followed by the subject, and then continues with the main verb in its past participle form. So we do understand now that in order to form a proper and correct present perfect sentence, we use which helping verb? Verb to have. We put have or has, depending on the subject. If the subject is singular, he, she, or it, we use has. If the subject is plural or I, we use have. Okay? And then we put the main verb in its past participle form. If I want to make the sentence negative, I add not directly after verb to have. If it's have, it's going to be have not or haven't. If it's has, it's going to be has not or hasn't. And I continue with the verb in the past participle form. If I want to create a question, if the question starts with a question word, like when, where, why, and so on, I say the WH question word followed by have or has, followed by the subject, and then the main verb in the past participle. If it's a yes or no question, we start directly by the helping verb have or has, followed by the subject and followed by the main verb in the past participle form. See, it's very easy. So these are the types of sentences and how we write them correctly in the present perfect form. Okay, so let's look at some time expressions. Like what are the key words to the present perfect tense? We have ever, and ever is used in the question form. Have you ever tried bungee jumping? No, I have never tried bungee jumping. So ever here means even once, even once. So when do we use the word ever? We use it in the question. Have you ever tried? Have you ever been? Have you ever worked? Have you ever eaten? So if we want to ask a question, we use ever. Okay? And if we want to say that we didn't do something not even once in our lives that we did that thing. So never. I have never tried bungee jumping. So never comes in the sentence in a negative meaning. So instead of saying I haven't tried bungee jumping, I say I have never tried bungee jumping. That means not once in my life I have tried this thing. So ever is used in the question and never gives the negative meaning. And both of them mean even once or only once or not even once. That means ever. Have you tried this ever? Like even once in your life? So you say, no, I have never. That means no, not even once in my life. Okay? Following word is just. And we explained that just means a second ago, couple of minutes ago, a moment ago. So it shows that something had just finished a moment ago, but the result of it still appears. Already means done it a while ago. Already means that this action has already been done or has been done a while ago. Okay? And then we have yet. Yet means didn't happen. So we use the yet time expression in two situations, in the question form and in the negative form. Like I tell you, have you studied your English lesson yet? So this is a question. I want to know if you have studied it or not. So I use yet in the question form, like saying, have you studied your English lesson yet? Or your answer is negative, so you say, no, I haven't studied my English lesson yet. So yet can be used in the negative form and in the question form. But what if I want to use a positive sentence? Like my mom comes and tells me, have you studied your English lesson yet? And I want to answer with a yes. So I tell her, yes, I have finished studying my English lesson already. That means I have finished it a while ago. So we have yet that comes in the question or the negative form. And if we want to say a positive sentence, we exchange yet with already or just. I have just finished studying it. Just like a moment before your question, I finished studying. Or I have already finished studying. That means I've done that a while ago. So we ask with yet and we answer. If it's negative, we use yet also. But if it's positive, we say already or just. Just means a moment ago. Already means a while ago. Yet means has it been done or not yet? Are we still waiting for it to happen? So yet means still, still. Okay? We have other two keywords or time expressions. We have the word for and the word since. For here represents a duration. I have been playing for 4 hours. The duration, the amount of time I spent doing the action of playing is 4 hours. So if I want to state an amount of time I spent doing a certain action, I say for. For here represents the amount of time, the duration. But if I want to speak about the start of the action, I say I have been playing games since 9 o'clock. So the start of the action was at 9. So when I want to speak about the start of the action, I use since. But if I want to speak about the amount of time the action was being done, I say for. I have been waiting since 3 o'clock. I have been waiting for an hour. See? Since 3 o'clock. So this is when the action of waiting starts at 3 o'clock. I have been waiting for an hour. That means the action of waiting has took an amount of time of 1 full hour. So I have been waiting for an hour. Okay? And then we have an important time expression, which is how long. If I want to ask about the time spent doing an action or a time spent waiting for an action or expecting an action to end, we say how long. How long have you been studying? How long have you lived here? How long have you been a student at your school? How long have you been playing football? So I ask how long to know the amount of time spent in this action or the amount of time this action needs until it gets done. So how long is one important question word that we use it in which tense? Good, the present perfect. What about so far? So far is another time expression for the present perfect and it has the same meaning as yet. Have you finished lunch so far? No, I haven't finished so far. So, does it mean, I'm sorry, I actually ask you, does it sound good with the positive sentence or only the negative sentence? Let's try this again. I have finished studying so far. No, I haven't finished studying so far. See, it works better with the negative sentence because we said that so far works exactly like yet. So we use so far in the negative form and in the question form rather than the positive form. So what do I use instead of so far in the answer if it's a positive sentence? What do I exchange so far with? I exchange it with lately or recently. Have you been to the cinema so far? No, I haven't been to the cinema so far. Or yes, I have been to the cinema lately. Or I have been to the cinema recently. So lately means or recently, they both mean a short time ago. Recently, like if I started the week by going to the cinema and by the middle of the week, someone asked me, have you watched this movie yet? Or have you watched this movie so far? I tell him, yes, I have been to the cinema recently. That means not longer than a couple of days ago, I was at the cinema. So it did happen, but it was a very short time ago. So lately and recently mean a few time ago, a short while ago. And because we understand that the present perfect connects the past with the present, so if something happened in the past, but it has a result in the present, I use the present perfect. So if something happened not a long while ago, like perhaps yesterday or a couple of days ago, and it still has a result, how do I put it in an expression? I say, I have been to the cinema recently. I have been to the cinema a lot lately. Like every week, I go to the cinema. So I have been to the cinema a lot lately. So in the short period of time that has passed, I have repeated an action. And the result of that action is showing in the present because a lot of the new movies that are in the cinema at the moment, I have already seen them. So the result of my action in the past short while ago is showing a result in my present time. That's why I use the present perfect with it. Okay? And then we have the word always. Okay? Always is another time expression that we use it with the present perfect. Like when I say I have always finished on time. I have always finished on time, or I have finished on time always. Okay, and of course, we know that the opposite of always is never. I have never finished on time, right? So let's read these examples. I have already got dressed. This is a positive sentence, so we use the time expression already with it. But if I want to ask a question or use a negative sentence, I use yet instead of already. Just like, has Sarah called yet? I say, yes, she has already called. Or I say, no, she hasn't called yet. Excellent. So if it's a negative sentence or a question, I use yet. If the sentence is positive, I exchange yet with already. Easy? Okay. So let's look at another expression that is related to the present perfect. We have has gone and has been. Sometimes I use the expression has gone. Sometimes I use the expression has been, or I use have gone and have been. So we need to learn the differences between both of the expressions and how to use them. So if I went to a place and came back, that means I've been to that place because I already came back from it. But if I went to a place and I am not back yet, I'm still there, that means I have gone to that place. Let me put it in an example. Mary has gone to London. The result, I miss her so much. So here we have has gone. That means she's not back from London yet. She is still there. And as a result to that, I miss her. So has gone means went to a place and not back yet. What about has been? Like, have you been to London before? Yes, I have been to London a couple of times and it's amazing. That means I have went there and already came back, so I can tell you my experience about it. My mom has gone to the supermarket. Is she back? No, she has gone. That means she isn't back yet. But when I say my mom has been to the supermarket, that means she went to the supermarket and she came back with all the groceries. So when I say, wow, what all those fruits that we have, I say, mom has been to the market. So I understand that mom in the early morning or yesterday or a couple of days ago or a short while ago, she went to the market, brought some fruits, and came back. So I can see the fruits in my house. So I know that my mom has been to the supermarket and back. But if I enter the house and I don't see any fruits and I don't see my mom, so I know that my mom has gone to the supermarket. That means she isn't back yet. I don't see her in the house. I don't see anything she bought. So I know she isn't back. But if I see her or I see the things that she bought, I know that she have been to that place and back from it. Do you understand the difference now? So been means went there and got back. Gone, that means went there and not back yet. Okay? So these are the difference between has gone and has been, and both of them are time expressions that we use with the present perfect tense. Okay? So one more time, I'm going to highlight that the present perfect tense, we use the helping verb to have in the form of have or has, depending on the subject, followed by the main verb in the past participle. Okay? Easy? Yes. So let's answer some questions. We have here a list of verbs and we have a sentence. Which sentence is the correct, which verb is going to be the correct answer? Brian, his first tooth. So Brian, his first tooth. The subject here is Brian. It's he. So we're going to use the helping verb has. So Brian has. Which verb? So the verb here is Brian has lost. We have the verb lose, and we're going to choose it and put it in the past participle. So it's going to be Brian has lost his first tooth. So let's look at the second example. We have a man here who's wearing a suit, but what looks like he doesn't have his trousers. So he is speaking to himself and saying, I think my trousers. Which verb? First, we're going to use the helping verb have because we here have the subject I. So I think I have, excellent, forgotten my trousers. So we're going to choose the verb forget and we're going to put it in the past participle. So it's going to be I think I have forgotten my trousers. Very good. Let's answer the following example. Bob and Sue. Here we have Bob and Sue. So the subject is they. So the verb will be have. So Bob and Sue have just married. So which verb? Yes, you're right. Have just get married. But will we leave it get? No, we will change it to the past participle. And what is the past participle of get? It's gotten. So Bob and Sue have just gotten married. Easy, right? So let's answer this example. It's the second time this week that Granny a game of bingo. So grandmother seems to come out of the bingo house with a lot of money. Does this mean that she won or lost? Yes, of course she won. So how do we put it in the present perfect tense? We say it's the second time this week that Granny here is a she, so we would use has. That Granny has won a game of bingo because the verb is win, and when we change it to the past participle, it becomes won. So Granny has won a game of bingo. Following example, who your heart again? We can see this nice teddy and the heart is broken. So who has broken your heart again? Broken is the past participle of break. So who has broken your heart again? The sad little bunny or Teddy. Okay. He in love with the new girl in his class. So he have or has, excellent. Has. He has. Be. So the verb is be. What is the past participle of be? Very good. It's been. He has been in love with the new girl in his class. It started in the past but continues in the present. He has been in love with the new girl. I owe my money. You can see that the result of the action that happened in the past is showing on the man with the empty pockets. So I have, what's the word? Can it be spend? Yes. So what is the past participle of spend? It's spent. So I have spent all my money. I have spent all my money. Here we have a question. So we say, which verb do we start the question with? We start with have or has, depending on the subject. So when the subject is you, we're going to start the question with excellent. It's have. Have you ever late for work? So have you ever what? Hmm. Hmm. Which verb? Which verb? Hmm. Have you ever been late for work? Have you ever been late for work? This is verb to be in the past participle. My father hard all day. So my father has or have. Excellent. My father is he. So it's has. My father has hard all day. What does he look like? He looks like working, right? What is the past participle of work? It's work. So my father has worked hard all day. Another example, and here we have never. Never here is working as negative. So I never a bike before. So I have never. Ride. What is the past participle of ride? I have never ridden a bike before. I have never ridden a bike before. We dinner together a few times this week. So during the week, we have repeated the action of we have or has. Very good. We have. We have dinner together. We have had. We have, and then the main verb is going to be have, and the past participle is had. So we have had dinner together. If the main verb is have, do not make that confuse you. We will still put have as a helping verb, and then we put have as in the past participle as the main verb. So we say we have had dinner together. Can we say we have dinner together? Wrong. Can we say we had dinner together? Wrong. The present perfect is verb to have plus the main verb in the past participle form. So if the main verb is coming in the sentence have, it doesn't matter. We will still use verb to have as a helping verb and then put verb to have, which comes as a main verb in this sentence, in the past participle form. So we say, we have had dinner together a few times this week. I finally, Lucy, the new student from the USA. So it's I have finally. Meet. What is the past participle of meet? It's met with one E. So I have finally met Lucy, the new student from the USA. Another question. So we're going to start with the helping verb based on the subject. The subject here is you. So we're going to start with have. Have you ever someone riding a duck? Have you ever see? What is the past participle of see? It's seen. Very good. Have you ever seen someone riding a duck? Have you ever seen? Easier, right? Another example. She very sick since Friday. Her sickness started on Friday. So she has has she has felt very sick since Friday. So we have the verb feel and its past participle is felt. So she has felt sick since Friday. Michael, not all his stuff yet. We can see that he's displaying his stuff for a garage sale. So he's selling the items. So can you see the items being sold? Not yet. So Michael has not sold all his stuff yet. The past participle of sell is sold. Michael has not sold all his stuff yet. Think about this one. Seth. Seth here is the name of this man. And then never that works as negative. snails before. It looks like they're being eaten. So, the have or has, yes, correct, it has. So, this has never eaten snails before. This has never eaten snails before. They too much. Too much. It seems like they hold cups in their hands and they look awake. No, they look drunk. So they have or has, good, it's have. They have drunk too much. Drunk here is the past participle of drink. So they have drunk too much. Very good. Rob just school. You can see that Rob here is a student who's leaving school. So Rob has just, what is the past participle of leave? It's left. Rob has just left school. We not to each other since Sunday. We see here that those couple are having a fight, right? So we have or has, excellent, it's have. We have not to each other since Sunday. So the start of the fight was on Sunday. So since Sunday, we have not spoken to each other. Spoken is the past participle of speak. We have not spoken to each other since Sunday. If we want to replace since with for, we say, we have not spoken to each other for 2 days, right? Because we said that for refers to the amount of time and since refers to the start of the action. So the fight started on Sunday. So they haven't been talking to each other since Sunday or for 2 days. He, me, Jane's secret. Okay, he has done a very bad deed. What did he do? He has told me Jane's secret. So the past participle of tell is told. He has told me Jane's secret. Okay, so just to recap for the rule of since and for, we said that we use for and since with the present perfect to say how long the action has lasted or when it started. So I have lived here since 2001. I have started living here in 2001. So I have lived here in 2001. That means the amount of time I spent living here is 11 years. So I have lived here for 11 years. You notice the difference? One is for the start of the action and the other is for the duration, the amount of time the action has taken place. Okay? So here is the brief. A period of time from start to end. This is the amount of time. This is how long. I have been waiting for 20 minutes. I haven't slept for 3 days. I haven't seen him for 6 months. I have been teaching English for 4 years. This monument has been here for 2 centuries. They lived here for a long time. The pyramid has been here since forever. Okay, I'm sorry, it's forever. So we can see here that the amount of time an action has taken place or the duration of the action, we use the word for. But what is the start? When was the start? I want to know. So since 9 o'clock in the morning, since Monday, since January, since 1997, since I left school. So we use since to speak about the start of the action, but we use for to speak about the amount of time the action took. So let's try to solve this exercise about since and for. Okay, James hasn't tasted porridge. Porridge is a type of food. So James hasn't tasted food. He was young. The answer is B. Since James hasn't tasted porridge since he was young. Very good. Number 2. We haven't been to the beach. We were young. What was the start of the action of not going to the beach? Yes, we were young. So since we were young, we haven't been to the beach. We haven't used our camera. We lost it. So when was the beginning of not using your camera? Since we lost it. The start of not using our camera is when we lost it. So we haven't used our camera since we lost it. May has been a teacher, 1988. So when did May start being a teacher? In 1988. So May has been a teacher since 1988. John hasn't had a cavity last May. John hasn't suffered from a cavity in his teeth since last May. The flag was placed on the moon over 40 years ago. So 40 years ago, this action has taken place. The judge passed the sentence 5 minutes ago. The judge here is the person who works in court who determines whether a person is guilty or innocent. So when the judge decides whether this person is guilty or not, he passes the sentence. So the judge passed the sentence that this person was guilty 5 minutes ago. Okay, let's look at more examples. May has loved watermelon. She was a child. When did she start loving watermelon? Since she was a child. June hasn't lived here in her house. She sold it. So when did she start not living in her house? Since she sold it. The Mexicans learned to play 10 years ago. So they learned how to play 10 years ago. John has been a builder. So John has worked as a builder for how long? Years. So the duration here. So John has been a builder for years. May has been in the woods for hours. How long has it been? And May is being in the woods for hours. So May has been in the woods for 4 hours. The duration of the time spent in the woods is 4 hours. So here we use the choice for. And here are the correct answers. Okay? It's as easy as that. So the present perfect tense is the tense that connects the past with the present through 5 uses that we've learned them. And the helping verb that comes in the present perfect is verb to have or has if it's coming after the singular subjects he, she, or it. And we've learned the time expression and how and when to use it. If we learn that, we'll be able to communicate and express through writing more fluently. So this is our lesson for today. This is our grammar lesson. I hope that you've learned it. Thank you, students, and goodbye.